Charlie Sims, played by Chris O'Donnell, is a student at Baird, an exclusive New England prep school. Unlike most of his classmates, Charlie comes from a non-wealthy family and is attending Baird on scholarship. To afford a flight home to Oregon for Christmas, Charlie took a temporary job over Thanksgiving weekend. The job was to look after Lieutenant Colonel Frank Slade, a retired Army Ranger played by Al Pacino. Charlie soon finds out that Slade is a cantankerous blind alcoholic. During their first conversation, Slade berates Charlie for talking too much about his personal life and orders him out of the guest house. Feeling that he had failed with Slade, Charlie talks to his niece. She tells Charlie that he must take the job since he was the only person who applied. Charlie and George Willis, Jr., both students at the preparatory school, witness a prank being set up by some of their classmates for the school's headmaster, Mr. Trask, played by James Rebhorn. After the prank, Mr. Trask pressures Charlie and George to reveal the names of the students who committed the prank. He tempts them with a bribe, a letter of recommendation that would ensure their acceptance to Harvard. Despite the offer, Charlie stays silent and appears to be struggling with his decision. Not long after Charlie arrives at Slade's house, he is taken on an unexpected trip to New York City without the knowledge of Slade's niece. Slade has booked a room at the Waldorf Astoria, and during dinner at the upscale Oak Club, he casually mentions the purpose of the trip, which is to enjoy luxurious accommodations before committing suicide. Charlie is shocked and uncertain if Slade is serious. The next day, Charlie wakes up to find Slade in his bedroom, expertly putting together his Colt service pistol. Charlie is alarmed and asks Slade to give up the pistol, but Slade refuses. Charlie then asks for the bullets, and Slade complies. Charlie and Slade pay a surprise visit to Slade's brother's home for Thanksgiving dinner. Slade's presence proves to be an unpleasant surprise for the family, as he deliberately causes conflicts with everyone and the night ends in an argument. During the visit, the cause of Slade's blindness is revealed. Randy, one of Slade's relatives, shares the story of how Slade lost his sight by accidentally exploding a grenade while drunk. Despite the ridicule, Slade appears to take it in stride. However, when Randy calls Charlie Chucky, Slade suddenly explodes, grabbing Randy by the neck and threatening to kill him if he doesn't apologize to Charlie. Afterwards, Slade and Charlie leave. Slade says goodbye to his brother and acknowledges that he has never been a good person. On their return to New York, Charlie shares his difficulties at school with Slade. Slade gives Charlie advice to turn in his classmates and attend Harvard, warning him that George will probably be pressured into revealing the identities of his friends. However, with his influential father, an alumnus of Baird, behind him, his punishment will likely be lenient. Later at a restaurant, Slade notices Donna, a young woman waiting for her date, played by Gabrielle Anwar. Despite being blind, Slade leads her in a spectacular tango, Por una cabeza, on the dance floor. Later that night, Slade hires a female escort, recommended by their driver Manny, played by Gene Canfield. As Slade enjoys his evening with the escort, Charlie calls the ski resort where George and Harry, the student who planned and carried out the prank, are spending their break. From George, Charlie finds out that Trask has escalated his investigation and that George's father has become involved. The phone call leaves Charlie more tense than ever. The next morning, Slade is deeply despondent and responds to Charlie's suggestion that they test drive a Ferrari. At the dealership, Slade convinces the salesman to let them take a Mondial model, with Charlie driving, despite Charlie not having a license. Charlie eventually allows Slade to drive the car and Slade begins to speed, terrifying Charlie and attracting the attention of a police officer. Despite being blind, Slade manages to appease the officer and they are ordered to return the car. The experience leaves Slade even more depressed than before. As they walk back to the Waldorf, Slade suddenly walks out into traffic and collapses on the street. Charlie is able to pick him up and they continue. Upon their return to the hotel, Slade instructs Charlie to run some errands. Charlie leaves the room, but soon becomes suspicious and decides to return. When he enters, he finds Slade wearing his military uniform, getting ready to take his own life with a pistol. Charlie intervenes, trying to take the gun away from him. Slade, though, easily overpowers Charlie, pointing the gun at him before pointing it at himself. They engage in a heated argument, but when Charlie shows bravery, Slade admires him and changes his stance. Slade agrees to take Charlie back to Baird with a newfound respect for the young man. Manny drives Charlie and Slade back to Baird. Upon arrival, Slade gives Charlie the money he owes him in cash. Slade then touches Charlie's face and feels for the first time how Charlie looks. As a final act of generosity, Slade offers Charlie any references he may need in the future. Finally, Slade has Manny drive him home. The inquiry takes place in front of the entire school community and the student-faculty disciplinary committee. Headmaster Trask concludes his questioning of George and turns to Charlie. To Charlie's surprise, Slade appears and joins him on the stage in a show of support. George has already revealed the names of the pranksters, but with a qualification that his vision was not clear. Trask presses Charlie for more information, but Charlie remains silent, unwilling to betray his classmates. Trask ultimately recommends Charlie's expulsion from the school. Slade finally speaks up in defense of Charlie during the formal inquiry. He critiques the school system that encourages informing on classmates and argues that Charlie has displayed integrity in his refusal to provide information. Slade passionately states that expelling Charlie would go against what truly makes a great leader and that he will make the school proud in the future. As a result of Slade's speech, the disciplinary committee decides to place the students named by George on probation, denying George any recognition or commendation. Charlie is excused from punishment and is no longer required to participate in the inquiry, which is met with loud applause from the student body. Charlie escorts Slade to his limo, where a female political science teacher named Christine Downs, played by Frances Conroy, who was part of the disciplinary committee, approaches him. She expresses her admiration for Slade's inspiring speech. Charlie notices a possible connection between them and mentions Slade's experience serving on President Lyndon Johnson's staff. The two part ways with a hint of a potential romantic relationship between Slade and Ms. Downs. Charlie then takes Slade home, where they say their goodbyes. The colonel happily greets his niece's young children as Charlie watches from the limo.